Today we're going to talk about right triangle trig or right triangle trigonometry, which is a topic that you guys did already in geometry if you took geometry. Your teachers may not have called it right triangle trig. They may have called it SOHCAHTOA because that is the acronym that we use for right triangle trig. Maybe your teachers wrote it. I know some like to write it this way. That way you remember what SOHCAHTOA means. Some of them might have wrote it how I have it in the quotes up here. What SOHCAHTOA is, what everything stands for. S is sine, which is a function. C is cosine, and T is tangent. Okay. O is the opposite side. A is the adjacent side. And H is the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is the longest. This is an S in here. The hypotenuse is the longest side of the triangle. It is across from or opposite the right angle. I'm going to show you guys in a second how you label everything, but I just want to tell you first. So what this even means, it's the ratio. Okay, so if you have an angle measurement, the sine of that angle, so it's the ratio. It has to be sine is the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. That's the purpose for the sine function. The purpose for the cosine function, it's the ratio of the adjacent side, the side next to the angle, divided by the hypotenuse. And then tangent is the opposite side divided by the adjacent side. Because again, if you have a right angle in a triangle, you can only do SOHCAHTOA on right angles. If you have a right angle and you know what your two specific lengths are, you have to have, there's no option for this other side here. There's no other option. It has to be a very specific length in order to meet each of those endpoints. Okay? So if we're looking at a right triangle over here, let's just talk about this symbol for a second. This symbol is called theta. Theta is a Greek letter. Okay? Nothing fancy. All that it really is a variable for a degree measure. So you can still call that x. Like there can be examples where you see that the angle measurement is x, but more often than not, especially when you go into Algebra 2 next year, more often than not you're going to see that little theta symbol, okay? So let's just talk about how to label your sides. So your hypotenuse, I always say you should label first. The hypotenuse is the side that's opposite the right angle, meaning the side doesn't touch that angle at all. Okay, so across from the right angle is the hypotenuse, or opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse. Then your side that's opposite is the side that's opposite the angle that you're talking about. So in this case, I'm talking about theta. So this side here would be opposite, which leads this to be your adjacent. Okay, the opposite one's usually not that it's the easiest to figure out, but the opposite side is the one that doesn't touch the angle. Both A and H are adjacent to theta, but you have to be careful because only one of those is the hypotenuse. Okay? So what we're going to be doing today, we're going to use SOHCAHTOA in order to solve for missing sides and missing angles. So in order to find a missing side, these are your steps. Your first step is going to be that you set up a proportion. That proportion will come from SOHCAHTOA. Next step, if you're looking for a side, you will cross multiply. Cross multiply, and then you solve. Okay, 3 steps for that. Set up a proportion, cross multiply, and then solve. If you're looking for a missing angle, 2 steps. Your first step, same thing, set up a proportion. You're going to label your sides and everything, and then you use that to set up a proportion. And your second step is pretty much to solve. You're going to plug that into the calculator. And the way that you do that is by using the second key. okay? I don't know if your geometry teacher said this or not. I know some of them do. If you're looking for the angle, or rather, if you're looking for the degree, you hit the second key. They have like a little rhyme that they use a lot of the time. It's also important too that your calculators are in degree mode, not radian mode. We haven't even talked about radians yet this year. I think you mentioned it a little bit in geometry, but just for peace of mind, on your calculator, just press mode and make sure that the degree choice is highlighted instead of the radian choice, okay? So let's just take a look at some examples down here. All right. Number 1, solve for the missing variable, round to the nearest hundredth. So all of these, we're just going to round 2 decimals. Make sure you're careful. You check your worksheet tomorrow. That way you read those directions in case I ask you to round somewhere else, that you're not just rounding to the nearest hundredth because that's what we did in the video. Okay, so for number 1, x, I'm looking for a side. Okay, I'm looking for a missing side. You don't have to write that. I'm just writing it that way we see it. I'm looking for a missing side. So this is the angle measurement that I'm given. My right angle is the one that I can make the little box in. So opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse. So x is your hypotenuse, and then the 16 is right next to that highlighted angle. So that's adjacent. And then this over here on the left is opposite, but nothing's even labeled there, so I'm not even going to worry about that. So I have A and H, right? A is 16 and H is X. So up here in SOHCAHTOA, the one that uses A and H is C, or cosine. So this is your proportion. The cosine of 49 degrees is equal to A divided by H. That's your proportion. And then from here, I put this over 1 and I cross multiply. I get 16 is equal to X cosine 49. And then you divide by the cosine of 49. This will cancel over here. Over here, you divide by the cosine of 49. So in your calculator, this is what you're going to press. 16 divided by cosine of 49, close the parenthesis, press enter. Your answer, rounded to the nearest hundredth, should be 24.39. And that's it. Okay? Number 2. Here, my x is another side. Okay, so I have 3 steps. I'm going to set up the proportion, cross multiply, and then solve. If you're looking for an angle, you don't cross multiply. Okay, we'll get to that in a second though. So I'm given this 39 degree. This is my right angle. So across from the, depending upon which one you want to start with, but if I look at the 29 is across from the right angle, is opposite the right angle. So that's going to be your hypotenuse. X is across from this highlighted 39 degree. So this is going to be your opposite. So if you look in SOHCAHTOA, the trig ratio that uses O divided by H is sine, right? That's so. So the sine of 39 degrees is equal to opposite, which is X, divided by the hypotenuse, which is 29. Put this over 1, cross multiply, 1 times X is X, equals 29 times the sine of 39. In your calculator, I want you to put the trig function second. Okay, so I don't want you to do sine 39 times 29, just in case you forget to close any parentheses. So in your calculator, you will type in 29 times sine 39, close the parenthesis, press enter, round it to the nearest hundredth again, you get 18.25. Number 3. I'm given this 28 degree measure. X is opposite the 28 degrees, so this is opposite, and the 10 is adjacent to it. The reason why there's no H here is because this is my right angle, And if I go opposite the right angle here, that side's not labeled. So we don't even need it, okay? So here, O and A, that would be tangent. So the tangent of 28 degrees. It's always the sine, cosine, tangent of the angle. So tangent of 28 degrees equals opposite over adjacent. Put this over 1. You're looking for a side, so you cross multiply. You get x equals 10 times the tangent of 28. So in the calculator, you type in 10 times tangent 28. That gives you 5.32. Rounded. Okay? And then the last one. Last one's a little different because if you look at your angle is theta, which is your variable. So on this last one, you're solving for the angle. So a little different. So you're still going to label your side. So first step, still set up your proportion. So again, this is my right angle here. 8 is opposite theta. So that's going to be your opposite side. 12 is opposite the right angle. It's also adjacent to theta, but more importantly, it's across from the right angle, meaning that it is your hypotenuse. So we have O and H, that's going to be sine of theta equals, then you have opposite divided by hypotenuse. Oops, sorry, hypotenuse, which is 12. Okay, so again, for this one, if you're looking for an angle, right after you set up the proportion, you can just plug it right into the calculator. This is what you type in. You're going to type in second, sine, 8 divided by 12, close the parenthesis. On your calculator screen, it should look like this. I don't know if you guys remember, but that little -1 in the upper right corner, that's the inverse. So this is what it looks like on your calculator screen. You press enter, and it'll give you what theta is. So once you type that in, you should get 41.81 degrees. Okay? If you have any questions, let me know. Your homework will be up for tomorrow. Have a good day.